Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in a minute or two. We're just going to wait to see if anyone else shows up as it's just 3 o'clock now. Remember to look at the right camera. Should we go ahead and get started, Julia? Okay. So just start my timer. So hi, everyone. So I am Kelly Shaw. I'm a professor at Williams College, and I'm one of the program leaders for the UR2PhD program. I'm excited that you're here today. We are going to be talking about how UR2PhD can support you as faculty mentors in terms of your working with undergraduate student researchers. Including at the end of the talk, we'll provide some resources if you have a National Science Foundation award for how you can apply for an RAU supplement, both instructions as well as a template. And we'll also talk about some funding that's available through UR2PhD if your students have completed our undergraduate research training course. So let's see, let's try. Okay, so UR2PhD has a whole bunch of resources, including several courses and workshops and so forth. And all of our resources are being shared with the community with a Creative Commons license with attribution. So if you would be interested in using any of our resources, please reach out if they're not available on the webpage, and we'd be happy to share those with you. So let me just tell you a little bit about UR2PhD, as some of you may not be aware of it. So UR2PhD stands for Undergraduate Research to PhD, and it has a high-level goal of increasing the number of North American women and gender marginalized individuals who pursue PhDs in computing. Now, having said that, it is the case that UR2PhD is open to everyone in North America. So it is not limited to only women and gender marginalized individuals who are undergraduates. But we do have this goal. We're trying to get more individuals from these demographics into PhD programs. So the way we're trying to achieve this is through a number of approaches. So one is we want to increase the number of mentored research experiences. Two, we want to improve the quality of those mentored research experiences. And three, we want to sustain student interest in research experience from their first initial research experience on through graduation and potentially beyond to getting a PhD. And the way that we are trying to achieve this goal is with several different programs. So two of our programs are courses. And the goal of these courses are to expand the number of mentored research experiences and the quality of those experiences. The first is an undergraduate research training course, which trains undergraduates to be able to perform research fundamentals in computer science, including to a specific research project they're matched with a faculty member. And the second way we're doing this is through a graduate student mentor training course, which trains graduate students who are mentoring undergraduate researchers on how to be good mentors. We also have two webinar series. So one, and both of these are geared to increase the retention of students in research. So one happens during the academic year monthly. That's our research engagement and awareness workshops, which provides students with information about research careers, graduate school, and a variety of other topics. And all of those resources from previous sessions are online as videos for people to view. And this fall, we actually also ran a graduate admissions preparation workshop where we helped students think through the process of applying to graduate school, to PhD programs, including finding programs to apply to, how to improve their applications, and so forth. So this is the set of resources that we have available. We actually have a number of additional resources, and we also try to help personalize those resources to individuals and individual departments. So if you're interested in our resources, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to share them. I'm going to focus in this talk on our two courses, the undergraduate research training course and the grad student mentor training course. So question is, how does UR2PhD support faculty research mentors? So I've mentioned these two courses. The first course, the undergraduate research training course, is going to teach students the research fundamentals. It is a synchronous online course. So undergraduates learn and apply basic research skills to your project, such as how to read a paper, how to do a literature search, how to analyze results, how to visualize results. They also write a research proposal describing the project they're working on with you. So this course is really geared towards students who are starting a new research project with you. And the idea is they'll be ramping up on research skills and applying those skills to the new project that they're working on with you. So at the end of the course, they will have a good understanding of the research project they're working on with you. And hopefully they've started doing some of the work that they're going to be exploring for the research experience with you. And the hope is that after the course, they will continue that research experience with you. So how does this help you? Well, one way it helps you is it reduces the one-on-one teaching time that you as a faculty member have to give to each individual student. In this scenario, you don't have to teach them how to read a research paper. A lot of that sort of frontline work is being done in the synchronous course. And then you can have secondary conversations about the specific research project and the papers that are related to their fundamental research with you, rather than having to teach them the basics of how to read a paper or how to do a literature search. So that's one way it saves you time. So the graduate student mentoring course is helpful for you as a faculty mentor as well. So this course teaches grad students how to be mentors to undergraduate researchers, and they're also mentoring the undergraduates at the same time they're taking the course. So they're actually getting feedback. It's not just all theoretical. They're actually trying to apply the ideas and getting guidance from the course staff. So the grad students also we have resources where we help the grad students design appropriate projects that further their own research goals in a way that's appropriate for the undergraduate student that's starting with them, that takes into consideration what the skills are and the knowledge is of the student that they're working with, as well as the amount of time they have to work with the student initially. The grad students learned how to be effective research mentors and receive guidance from the course community, not only the instructors, but also the other students. And how does this help you as a faculty member? Well, one, it reduces your one-on-one teaching time, right? Because the grad student is now, if you have a grad student mentoring the undergraduate, the graduate student is serving sort of as the frontline person to answer questions about the research project. And then you are sort of a second line help in many ways, right? So that reduces the amount of time that you have to engage perhaps on the nitty-gritty details with an undergraduate student. Of course, this is also going to help the graduate student advance their research if the student is overseeing an undergraduate working on a project related to their research. Additionally, NSF recently changed their rules for graduate students funded by their awards to require them, graduate students, to receive some form of mentoring. And so we believe that this course can help serve that requirement that NSF has placed on awards that they have that are supporting graduate students. So that's another reason, or another way that UR2PhD can help you as a faculty researcher mentor. Another reason is that, well, NSF and other funding agencies think about broader impacts, and workforce development, including undergraduate student research development, can help meet those broader impact goals. So these are just some ideas to think about in terms of how your PhD can actually help you be successful and help your team, your research team, be successful. Now, how are these two courses structured and how do things work together? So when students are part of our undergraduate research training course, they're actually enrolled as a group of 2 to 4 undergraduate students who are working with a faculty mentor and or a graduate student on a research project. And so the idea is that the undergraduate students have the graduate students and the faculty mentor to go to for help. And they also have one another. That's why we want to make sure that students are in groups of 2 to 4, so they can actually ask one another questions, get a sense of community in their local geographic region, have others that they can go to first before they go to the graduate student, before they go to the faculty mentor. So the undergraduates participate in groups, and they also receive instruction from the UR2PhD team, the instructors and graduate students who are helping with that course. And then at the same time, the graduate students, if you have graduate students helping to mentor these students, will be participating in a mentor training course and receiving instruction from our UR2PhD instructors, as well as getting guidance and feedback from their fellow peers in that course. And the faculty member oversees both the graduate and the undergraduate students, providing guidance and support as needed. So this is how we have been running this course, and we think it works really well. And one, makes sure that there's enough support and quality support for the undergraduate students, and also, makes it so that it's tractable or scalable for the faculty mentor who's, as you know, very, very busy. So let's talk about what your students will learn in these courses. So the undergraduate student research training course prepares undergraduates to complete their first research project in a positive and mentored environment. It is a synchronous 2-hour course meeting time that happens throughout the term that it's being applied. And we ask that faculty members either provide students with course credit or pay in order to compensate them for their involvement in this course. So it is a full course, and at the end of the course, our instructors will provide you with information about the completion of assignments and the grade that we recommend for the course. And then you get to decide as a faculty member, if the student is getting course credit, what grade you actually want to give to them and how you want to factor our recommendation into your grade. So to be eligible, you need a research team of 2 to 4 undergraduate students working on a research project in a computing field. Those students have to be willing to and able to attend the same session as the other members of their research team. And of course, they have to be willing to attend all of the course sessions with a maximum of 2 unexcused absences and participate actively. And in order to be part of the undergraduate student research training course, students need to apply. And we'll talk more about that in a second, but there's a link at the bottom of this page here for that. So the objectives for the course are for the students to develop practical skills for a research project, be able to communicate their research findings via written and oral means, work effectively in a team to accomplish their goals, be able to evaluate the social, ethical, and cultural impacts of their project with you, develop a computer science research identity, and develop skills to support belonging in a positive community for all the individuals involved in the research project. So we want them to be supportive of one another and feel like they're part of a community. And then, of course, as I mentioned, a goal is to get these students to consider graduate study. So that is also a goal of this, or a learning objective for this course. On this slide, I am giving you, I know it's a lot of information. We are going to make these slides available so you can actually take a closer look at these. This is the overview of the various assignments and in-class activities that students do. Just as a note, the activities and the assignments due before the start of class don't take a ton of time. This isn't really onerous. And some of them would be reading the research paper that you've decided to have them read, and so forth. So they're reasonable assignments that the students are being asked to do outside of class for the synchronous course. And then they're also doing in-class activities, which is why it's important that the students from the same research team be able to attend at the same time so they can actually work together. Okay, and a key component that I really want to stress is that they will apply the skills that they learned in the context of your research project. Their mentor, you or the grad student, will need to supply a paper for them to read initially. And then they're going to do a literature search based on that paper, right? To look for other topics or other papers related to that concept. They're going to analyze the paper that you've provided in the as part of their research, both the way that experiments are conducted and the data visualization and results and so forth. So this is key because we want this program and we want this course to be productive with respect to your success as researchers and the grad student success as researchers. We want the undergraduate students to be moving your research program forward. So the grad student mentor training course prepares grad students to positively and mentor undergraduate students in a culturally responsive way. So this course meets weekly, synchronously for 1 hour. There are a few discussion questions that students are asked to, like maybe 5 times during the term, to write a response to, and then comment on other people's stuff in the other students' comments on Canvas. But other than that, there isn't really any outside of class assignment. At the end of the course, assuming the grad student has completed all of the requirements, UR2PhD pays them $1,000 stipend directly. And so what's the eligibility? So they must be a current graduate student who's mentoring undergraduate students. Priority will be given to graduate students who are mentoring students participating in UR2PhD. But if you have other graduate students who aren't part of UR2PhD, we have accepted and are happy to accept graduate students into this program as well. So the grad students have to be willing to attend all the course sessions with a maximum of 2 unexcused absences and participate in the conversation. By the end of the course, the grad students should be able to describe principles by which optimal mentorship happens in research environments, apply best practices in mentorship to their relationships with their undergraduate student research mentees, curate an inclusive mentoring philosophy that can inform their current and future mentoring relationships. And this can be helpful to the grad student if they're going to apply for faculty positions in the future. It's a starting point for their teaching statement. And additionally, we want them to be able to create a welcoming mentoring environment where undergraduate researchers can thrive as future scholars. So some of the topics that are discussed in the course, we start out theoretical, talking about mentoring and what it means to be a mentor, how to help mentees flourish and thrive in research. And then there's a lot of sort of concrete help, ways to assess when something's going wrong, how to align expectations between the mentor and mentee, how to give effective feedback, how to use worked example and contrasting cases to help the undergraduate researcher make progress on their project, and so forth. So lots of really great ideas and that are and not just conceptual, but also very practical. And the instructors do a lot of talking to the graduate students about what's going on with their mentees, having them share and help one another and give advice and get feedback. So I mentioned that we also have resources to help graduate students scope or create a project so that it will be productive and a happy and enjoyable experience for both the graduate student, you, and the undergraduate student researcher. So we created a 1-hour video where we talk about how exactly to go about designing a research project for, a semester long or summer long project. first research experience for a student, how to take into consideration the student's skills and so forth, how to adapt. We will also be offering this workshop at the Computing Research Association's grad cohort workshop if you have a student attending that. But in addition to the video, we have a worksheet providing step-by-step guidance for designing a research project. So the grad student or you can work through it. And we also have an example completed worksheet that is filled out using the example from the video. Those resources are available online and Julia will make them available, but this link also has them. So hopefully I've described enough for that you are now thinking, okay, I want to use UR2PhD to bring on my undergraduate student researchers and have my grad students mentor them if I have grad students. So how do we make that happen? Well, before I say how, what I just want to stop and say in general, I think it's important to think about how to make your students that you bring on productive and successful. What's the best way to do this? I highly encourage students to learn basic research fundamentals in advance of their intense research activity. So for example, if you're going to have a student working with you over the summer, doing an REU with you, I would encourage you to have them enroll during our winter spring term, where that way they learn about the project that they're working on. Maybe they do some initial using of tools and getting ramped up on the project so that when the summer begins, they are ready to go and they can make really good progress. Now, if that's not possible, but you want the student to be exposed to these research fundamentals, we also offer a summer term. And the idea with our summer term is we front load the summer with all of the course into, I think it's 4 weeks. So the students are learning those research fundamentals while they're with you during the summer, early in the summer, and then they have all that knowledge as they continue on the summer research internship with you for the rest of the summer. If the student is doing a year-long project, depending on when they start, enrolling during the fall term would be a great opportunity. And our courses are offered during fall, spring, and summer. So basically, whenever works for you all, we're going to offer this opportunity. So here is our winter spring term course schedule. If you have students who you want to have enrolled in this, we are still having students apply and be accepted. So the grad student mentor training course begins a little bit earlier than the undergraduate research training course because we want to ramp up the graduate students a little bit about get them to understand a little bit about mentoring before they're actively mentoring the students. So the grad student mentor training course begins on January 21st. So if you have grad students who you want to do this, we'd love to have them. And we've had some students join like week 2 or week 3 because all of the sessions are recorded so they can watch them if they need to catch up. So keep that in mind. The undergraduate research method course starts in the beginning of February, so February 5th or 6th. And you can see that both of the courses go through April, so they should finish before the end of your term finishes. This is our anticipated summer schedule. For the graduate students, it actually goes throughout, starting in May and through July, and that's because we want those grad students to have support throughout the entire time they're mentoring the undergraduate students. The undergraduate training course starts in June and ends in June. So it's all crammed into a single month so that they have that knowledge to be able to use during the rest of the semester. Here is our anticipated fall schedule as well. So for the grad students starting in early September and the undergraduates in later September, both finishing in December. For the undergraduates, right, we're trying to figure out how to be there for both or meet both quarter and semester systems, which is why it's starting in late September. Okay, so how do I get my students involved? They need to apply. And there's 2 ways that we have students apply. So one is departments or schools can apply to be institutional partners. These are for departments where they are committed to recruiting and supporting undergraduate researchers, and they want to engage a number of their students in our program. There's a local coordinator that could be a staff member, a grad student, or a faculty member who is responsible for recruiting and matching faculty, grad students, and undergraduate students together, and sending out resources. And I'm not focusing on that here, but I'm happy to talk at the end when we have questions more about institutional partners. We also have community applications, so faculty members and their students who are not at institutional partners can apply to be part of our courses. And so the idea here again is you would have a group of 2 to 4 students who are working with a faculty member on a project, and those students would apply to participate to the course, and all of the students would need to apply to do this. Okay. And then if they have, once the students are accepted, if there are grad students who are going to be doing the mentoring, we ask for who those graduate students are going to be, and we include them. Now, if you have a graduate student who wants to be part of this program, but is not going to be mentoring a UR2PhD undergraduate student, but will be mentoring an undergraduate student, please reach out to our email address, and we will work with you on how to make that happen. So I mentioned earlier that we want to make sure that students are compensated for participating in research. So we believe strongly that undergraduate students should get either course credit, maybe an independent study or a research course, or be paid a stipend or hourly wages for their participation in the course. Graduate students who participate as mentors and are enrolled and complete the graduate student mentor training course, UR2PhD will pay them $1,000. We hope that those graduate students will continue to mentor the undergraduates after that for initial term. And so we want to encourage that by providing a stipend of $250 in subsequent terms to graduate students who continue to mentor UR2PhD undergraduate student researchers. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 ways of funding your students. So one is if you have an NSF award, we're going to talk about REU supplements. And then I'm going to talk about, if you don't have an NSF award, how you can apply for funding from UR2PhD to support both your undergraduate students as well as yourself as a faculty mentor. So I'm going to start with applying for REU supplements. So the National Science Foundation has this program for REU supplements where PIs can apply for supplemental funding for 1 to 2 undergraduate student researchers per year per award. And the amount of funding available that you can request is up to $10,000 per student per year. And that includes stipend and maybe travel or housing. You get to break that down. Now, a key catch here is that the undergraduate student must be a U.S. citizen, U.S. national, or U.S. permanent resident. In general, the NSF says you should apply by March 31st for these REU supplements because funding requests submitted after that may have limited availability because the funds are already used. So we want to make this as easy as possible for you. So we constructed instructions we're going to have links to, as well as a template for you to fill out to make it really easy for you to apply for REU supplements. The most important thing I want to mention here is you need to reach out to the program officer who manages your award to ask them about applying for an REU supplement. So that's step 1. I wanted to put it as step 0, but I didn't know how to make that happen in Google Sheets. So then the next step is you need to create a description of the proposed REU activity, which is no more than 3 pages. And that's going to include the nature of each prospective student's involvement in the research project, the experience of the PI, so you in involving undergraduates in research, the nature of mentoring that the students will receive. So if they're in UR2PhD, that counts as part of the mentoring they're going to receive. And then the process and criteria for selecting the students to receive the supplements. And if you've already selected the students, then what you have to do is you include a biographical sketch of that student and describe how you selected those students. And we have a template for you to fill in to do this proposed REU activity. In addition to that, you have to create a budget and a budget justification. All student costs need to be included under participant support costs. You cannot have indirect on REU supplements, so that's an important thing to realize. And then you also need to include a budget justification, which has itemized student costs, so stipend, travel, housing, so forth, and then also total costs. And we have there also a template for you to fill out. So these are what these three documents look like: the instructions, the REU activity description, and you can see the yellow parts are what you would change and fill in, and then the REU supplement budget justification as well. And the links on this slide will go to these resources. Again, we want to encourage you to reach out to the program, the person at NSF who is managing your award first to make sure that they're okay with you applying for an REU supplement, and also they can give you additional directions. But we're hoping that this will give you an easy way to go ahead and apply for REU supplements so you can get more students working with you in your lab. So if you are not a person who has an NSF award, you can apply for funding from UR2PhD. So we have funding for students for an REU. So for example, summer REU that have completed the undergraduate research training course for up to $8,000 per participant. We also have funding for mentors of those students who are going to be mentoring the students during the summer, for example, and that is up to $4,000 per faculty mentor. So for example, if you are a teaching focused faculty member and you don't have an NSF grant, we want you to be a faculty mentor too. You have the skills in terms of mentoring, you have the research background, you have great ideas, you have students who like you. We want you to mentor students too, and we want to provide you with some compensation for that engagement as well, not just the students. So you can apply for that, assuming your student has completed the undergraduate research training course. And then, of course, any student who has completed the undergraduate research training course and their research is being presented at a conference or a workshop can apply for support to travel to that conference or workshop. We'll pay up to $2,000 participant for shared for both the undergraduate student and their grad student mentor to potentially attend and present their research. So this was a really fast overview of the materials that we have and how we think that UR2PhD can help support you and your students on your research success. And I could tell you so much about more about UR2PhD, but I know you're all very busy people. We have lots of resources online. We also have folks who are like Julia here and the program leaders who would be delighted to answer questions or help personalize things for your institution or how you need to or want to use UR2PhD. You can find more about UR2PhD at the webpage or reach us via this email address. And again, I am Kelly Shaw. You can reach me directly at my Williams address, or the UR2PhD email address also goes to me. And so I would like to stop there and answer any questions folks might have. I know I went really quickly, so. Are there any questions in the chat, Julia?
There was one question about whether or not UR2PhD REU funds could be used to support students who are not U.S. citizens or residents. That question was answered. The answer is yes. The UR2PhD REU funds can be used to support international students or students who otherwise wouldn't be able to qualify for NSF funds, but those students have to meet our eligibility requirements, which include having to successfully completed the undergraduate research training course.
Yeah, we're really lucky in that we have some philanthropic donors that are supporting UR2PhD. So currently our funds are not coming from NSF or other federal agencies. So we have a little bit more flexibility, which is great because we've had a number of students from Canada be part of our program. And we have some institutional partners from Canada who we love. Any other questions? I don't know. So we will, as I mentioned, we will share all of the video as well as the links to all of these resources online. Our course, our program webpage already has, for example, slides from, I think it has slides from the courses themselves. Is that right, Julia? So if you wanted to, adopt those slides in-house for instruction of your undergraduate researchers or of a course that you're teaching, we're happy to have you do that. We have all of our webinars online as well, and so forth. So, and the designing the research project materials are online, and the RU supplement template and instructions will be online. So, so Amanda, you have a question. I'd love to hear your
Hi.
question.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate all this information, especially the templates. Those are going to be super helpful. This will be my first time looking at an RU program. I think I was pulling up the slides and trying to go through everything really quickly. My basic question is, I'm in Texas,
Mhm.
and DEI is
Yeah.
not a phrase I can use. Is
Yes.
there basically I can't mandate or provide DEI training to my graduate or undergraduate students. Would this fall into that category, or is there any component of these courses that would do that? Or
So we do, I think the graduate student mentor training course talks about different aspects of identity that might impact students to,
okay,
in terms of your interaction with the mentees. But I don't know if that classifies as training or not. It's like, okay, we all have different things. Like you might be from a low socioeconomic status background, or you might, be a person of color, right? And or you might have had this experience in the past. You may have gone to a community college, but there might, you may have some sort of accessibility, but it's sort of holistically talked about there,
okay,
you know, and it's really to try and help the mentees understand where the student might be coming from in order to be able to engage with them. We're not saying, okay, this is what, like here is a whole section on bias or anything like that.
okay.
In the undergraduate research, oh, Julia, did you want to add on
Yeah,
something?
I was just gonna add to what you just said, Kelly, that a lot of our reflection questions around community building and diversity and inclusion are very general. So instead of like speaking directly about the empirical research about what bias might look like in computing, we ask students to reflect about what barriers broadly could impact a student's participation within research.
Okay.
I don't believe we have anything that specifically says diversity and inclusion within any of our slides, but I could do a more thorough review just to make sure.
I would too. I figured I'd pick your brains while you were here, especially because this may not just be for me. The whole several states are going through this. So,
Right. And one of our lead people, Christine Alvarado, is in California, and they've for many years had to be real careful about, for example, applications, like how we evaluate applications. And that's why I say UR2PhD is open to everyone. We do have this goal of trying to increase the number of women and gender marginalized individuals in PhD programs, but it's open to everyone, right? And so we accept applications. We do ask how much people feel like in the applications, how much students feel supported in their computer science community, right? Whether or not they felt marginalized in some way, and they get to describe whatever that means to them, right? And so we look at the students holistically in terms of who we accept into the program. And, oftentimes we have student groups where it's a mix of people of genders and gender identities and so forth. So, like I said, it's not just for specific demographics.
One last thing I'll add is that we do have partners in various states where some of that legislation is affecting them, and they haven't come across any issues as of late.
That's a great question, though, because we don't want to get anybody in trouble, nor do we want to get into trouble. Other questions? Well, we won't keep you if you don't have questions, because we know you're busy people, but if you do think of questions that that come up, please send us email. We're delighted to engage with you. Also, please share our resources with your colleagues, with your grad students, with your undergraduate students. Our goal is to change the culture of undergraduate research and undergraduate research mentoring in order to make it so that more and more people are supported in undergraduate research and go on to PhDs in computer science or computing fields. It's not just computer science. So if you have data science students and so forth, they are welcomed and welcomed into this program as well. So we, like I said, we are just delighted that you're here, and we look forward to having you and your students engage in the program. And feel free to share all of our materials with your colleagues and students.